I'm going to call myself out on something that happened yesterday. The short story is I was happy when something bad happened to somebody. Let me tell you the story. I used to live life in a way that when I met people, I'd make a snap judgment about them. I'm critical of people, make a snap judgment, and based on what I saw, what I thought about them, I would put them either in this bucket of they were more successful than me or less successful than me. They had more accomplishments than me or less accomplishments than me. Here I was. There was me. Nobody was equal to me. Everybody was either better than me or not better than me. And so, 4 or 5 years ago, I came across a coach who I have come to respect and admire, and I emulate some of his coaching and my coaching, and I want to be like him. He's one of my examples that I follow in the world of coaching, and his wife is a successful coach and musician, and I put them in this category of more successful than me. They had more money, they made more money, they drove nice cars. He drives a Porsche. I want to drive a Porsche, so I put them in this category up here. And when I looked at people this way, they weren't people. They were the sum of their achievements. They were just what they had done. They were their achievements, and I didn't like it when people were more successful than me. Now, I was the one I realized that created this tiered system where I pedestalized people, but I didn't like that these people were up here, even though I was the one putting them up there. There's some irony in that I recognize now. And so when they would have a win, I would get jealous because they must have had something that made them more successful than me. There was some success gene that was in their DNA, and I didn't get it, but they did. So I got jealous when good things happened to them. I used to remember getting mad. Like I could not celebrate with others of my peers or people that were more successful than me when something good happened to them because it was just it was um, what's the word I'm looking for is exaggerating the fact that they just had more success than me. And I didn't like that. And so what happened? This coach and his wife, I had put them in this bucket, and I've grown over the years to not put people in buckets like this as quickly. I think there's some residual thinking left over from that way of looking at life. And I'm a human being. I'm a sinner, and I still judge people, but I'm much slower to judge people. I'm much more forgiving of how I judge people when I meet them. And what I've noticed also is that people that I met and I put in buckets, along the way, as I've grown, I've forgotten to take them out of their buckets and just see them as people. And so a residual way of thinking, I had this couple in this bucket up here. And what I found out yesterday was their 11-year-old son had a stroke. I have an 11-year-old son. Brady's in fifth grade. If my son had a stroke, I mean, it'd rock our world. Well, I found out that their 11-year-old son had a stroke, and I don't like sharing this. And I'm sharing it because I've committed to sharing my journey of growth and being authentic and vulnerable and courageous in my growth and sharing it. Because I know I'm not the only human being on the planet who thinks this way. My mom told me I was special, but I know I'm not this special. There are other human beings who feel like this, so maybe this resonates with you. Maybe you can grow along the journey with me. So I found out their son had a stroke. And without realizing what was going on, all of a sudden I realized I was glad that something unfortunate happened to them because it kind of took them off this pedestal that I had put them on. I don't like admitting that. This is not who I want to be. And as soon as I recognized that, I recognized the error in that. And I stopped thinking this way. But I realized that this model of putting people in buckets, it takes the compassion out of the picture. It takes the empathy out of the picture. It takes the humanness out of the picture. People just become their achievements. And I really didn't like that people had achieved more. So when something unfortunate happened to them, it kind of knocked them down in my eyes. And and it made me feel better about myself. What a selfish, horrible way to think. But that's the result of not seeing people as people. That's the result of thinking that people have a success gene and then being jealous that they have a success gene. Well, no, there is no success gene. I think, in a sense, me telling a story that people were more successful than me because they got lucky or because they had a success gene or I don't know what it was an out for me for not pursuing my best. See, what I know about this couple who I had pedestalized was they're very transparent about their growth. They've worked incredibly hard personally and in their business, to become successful. He drives a Porsche because he's worked very hard. He's put in a lot of effort. He's put in a lot of growth. He's put in a lot of vulnerability and courage and transparency to get to this place. And I knew that. And yet I chose to ignore it because it didn't fit my model. It didn't fit my story that he's successful because he just got lucky or he had this success gene. There is no success gene. We're all people. Some people put in effort and they become successful. Some people put in effort and they don't become as successful. Life's not fair. I was trying to make life fair. I was trying to make sense out of the vast dynamics of life. I was trying to simplify being human. You can't simplify being human. There's a lot to being human. I was trying to just categorize people. Better than me, worse than me, and just keep it that simple. It gets hard. It makes it hard to love people. It makes it hard to serve people. It makes it hard to be compassionate towards people when they're just either more successful or less successful than you. And so I'm sharing this, one, because I want to be transparent in my growth. There's an opportunity for me to grow, to reevaluate. There's still some people that I had stuck into these buckets, and really I want to see people as people. Not their titles, not their successes, not their failures, not their achievements, not their years of planning that failed for whatever reason. I want to see them as people to love, people to care for, people to weep with, to cry with when bad things happen to them. People that when their 11-year-old son has a stroke, I feel grief with them, for them. I have compassion for them. I want to feel compassion for them. But this model that I had set up for myself, more successful, less successful, it didn't allow me to have compassion towards them. So I'm changing the way I think about people. And I've been changing my way I think about people, but what I realize is life is kind of like this circular process where you learn something, you go, you put it into practice, put it into practice, put it in practice, you experience some other things, and you come back and you learn it at a deeper level. Yesterday, what I realized was I'm still learning at a deeper level this idea about seeing people as people. And for me, that opportunity comes in when I see people who I've called successful, and see them as people that have problems, people that have medical emergencies. They're people. And I want to be able to be compassionate with them. There is no success gene. There is no part of anybody's DNA that they just pop out into the world and they're going to be successful. It takes hard work and hard effort. And I'm here to put in hard work, to put in hard effort, to be authentic, to be faithful with what God has called me. To whom much is given, much is required. And let me tell you, I recognize that I've been given a lot. I don't know why God chose me to be given a lot. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. To whom much is given, much is required. God calls me not to have a success gene, but to be faithful every single day. And part of that, being faithful every single day, is loving God first and loving others as myself. Seeing people on an even playing field with me. This model of more successful, less than successful, I've thrown it away. Again, I feel like I've thrown it away before, but again, in a renewed sense, in a deeper sense, I'm throwing it away. If you're watching this video, I want you to know that as a human being, I want to be able to love. I want to be able to be compassionate. I want to serve. I want to be able to come alongside and support you. I want to see us as human beings, equal, altogether. There is no success gene. There is being faithful with what God has given me.